What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for my Floowandereeze profile for Master Duel. So it just came out, literally as I'm recording this came out like, what, 4 hours ago? We've made it for through Diamond, because I hadn't played since the ladder reset, because I was waiting for, Floowandereeze to drop. So we've played our way through Diamond, we're now in Platinum, or played our way through Platinum, now in Diamond. So yeah, I figured I'd bring you the list. This is not different. This is much different to the list that I brought to you last in like a physical card game profile. A, because the quick play spell is not in Master Duel, and B, because I'm playing something that I call Cracked Flunder. So the concept of Cracked Flunder is skip your opponent's turn. And I will now show you the list. Oh, spoilers. So this is Cracked Flunder. Essentially, you're playing a bunch of cards that just skip your opponent's turn. So if you hand trap, or if you get hand trapped, or maybe you brick a little bit, that's fine. Skip your opponent's turn, comes back to you, you play again. The concept behind it is you're trap tricking into the Harpy's Featherstorms and into stuff like Dimensional Barrier. If you come up against Sword Soul, Dimensional Barrier, skip the opponent's turn. Harpy's Featherstorm, also skip the opponent's turn. All of this stuff accessible off Trap Trick, and then yeah, it's essentially just trying to stop your opponent to give you another turn. Does also come up quite a lot in the fact that we don't have the quick play spell, so you will get hand trapped a fair bit in this deck. So yeah, the Cracked Flunder build does definitely help with that a bit. Also rather cute. Vanity's Emptiness is at 1, but we'll go through the whole profile for this one. If you are new to Floowandereeze and Master Duel, we'll click on everything because I know that was a big request from my Gem Knight lists. So first off, we have our 3 copies of Floowandereeze and Rubina. Your standard normal summon for the deck. This makes everything go round. This will add your Floowandereeze and Eaglin. Eaglin, of course, then adds your level 7 or higher Wind Beast, so that adds your bottom line here. For the rest of your Floowandereeze, we play 2 copies of Shri in Cracked Flunder. This is just to the Crow. It's just probably the better out of itself in Toucan. Although there are times when I would rather play the 2 Toucan, so I can honestly go either way on this, but Shri just comes up a lot more, being able to actually activate its effect. And then after that, we do have the 1 copy of Floowandereeze and Toucan. This is your adding back Floowandereeze from the Banish pile. Then we have 1 copy of Wind Barrier Statue of the Storm Winds, simply just here, again, to try and skip the opponent's turn, force them into main phase 2. And then we have our big boys. So we have Apex Avian, 1 copy of Riser, and then our 2 copies of M-Pen. So we have the Apex Avian for our standard negation that we can summon, Riser for breaking the opponent's board, and then our 2 copies of M-Pen for the setup. These 5 cards are typically what you'll be dropping at the end of your combo. So if you have your 1 copy of Rubina, this is simply for people that are new to the deck. You have your 1 Rubina, you have access to your Eaglin somehow. If you open Rubina map, you can banish the Eaglin, add it back when you summon your Rubina, because remember, they all add back to hand whenever you summon another Winged Beast. And then Rubina can add Barrier Statue, then you summon the Eaglin, Eaglin gets your M-Pen, M-Pen then gets you a search for anything that you may need, and then you slap down the Barrier Statue. That is normally enough to force your opponent at least into the battle phase. Then we get into our spell line, so we do have our standard field spell package, so we've got 1 Terraforming with our 3 copies of Floowandereeze and a Magnificent Map. Of course, Magnificent Map, you get the reveal of your level 1 Flunder, banish another Floowandereeze card from deck, and then immediately normal summoned. Nets you that second normal summon, it's how you're normally playing. Then we have our 3 copies of Duality and our 3 copies of Prosperity. Who would have guessed that this is budget now in our Master Duel, given that we have all the super rares floating around? So we've got 3 Duality, reveal top 3 cards, 3 Prosperity. And then we get into more of the obscure choices that I have for this list. So we've got our 2 copies of Unexplored Winds. So the reason we're playing 2 copies of this is it just causes so much disruption. And if, say, you summon your Eaglin, you get hand trapped on just the Eaglin that you open. If you have this, you can still kind of play on the next turn. Like I said before, skip the opponent's turn, comes back to you, you break what they've built of their board, you win. 2 copies of Call by the Brave come through after that. As you can see, we're not playing stuff like Shifter in this build, so 2 copies of Call by the Grave, perfectly fine to be running, although you will get impermanence more than you get ashed. Then we have 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier to start off the cracked part of Cracked Flunder. 3 copies of our D-Barrier, just for skipping the turn of stuff like Sword Soul. 3 copies of Harpy's Featherstorm. So, something interesting with this build of the list, I played a lot of mirror matches, and this card won every mirror match that I saw it. Essentially, D-Barrier doesn't work in the mirror, but that would make you lean towards favoring the hand trap build. However, in the hand trap build, Shifter doesn't work in the mirror, so you're literally not losing out on anything. Playing the Harpy's Featherstorm hard skips your opponent's turn in the mirror. If you, say if they start playing on their turn, they normal summon, they trigger off all their effects, and then you get to chain your map. Then you can just chain the storm, negates the entire chain, their whole turn is over, and then because you've got to resolve your map, you're now playing. And no, it is not your turn, it is my turn. I will be playing now, and you've had your turn skipped. And essentially, yeah, Trap Trick is simply here to get us through to that. It adds the consistency for these versions of essentially, yeah, everything. We do, of course, play 2 copies of Floowandereeze and Dreaming Town in this list for the extra normal summon. The reason why we're playing 2 of it is because it makes it trap trickable. So if you open the 1 copy of the Harpy's Featherstorm, you also then have access to this. That is the sole reason why we're playing 2 copies of this, just so it can be trap tricked. Rather cute when you trap trick it, it banishes it, turns on you toucan. Yeah, another rather cute interaction that you have here. And then lastly, Vanity's Emptiness. Simply because it is another essentially back row version of Barrier Statue. Also, all your little birds get banished when they leave the field. So like, if you get hand trapped and you open like Vanity's Emptiness, you flip it, they go, oh, I guess I go battle phase, attack into a little bird gets banished, Vanity stays up. Every time that happened, my opponent immediately scooped the game. So yeah, definitely a very good card in Floowandereeze. The only real time it's going to grave is if one of these traps triggers, but I will normally use the trap first to try and stop my opponent, and if they find a way to keep going, Vanities gets flipped, and then yeah, we say no to all that. Then we get into the extra deck. A couple of cards here completely useless. The 6 cards that I will just straight up banish off Prosperity every time are the these 2 cards here. They're irrelevant. The 3 Sue ships, also irrelevant. They're just filling the 6 cards. And then lastly, it is the Earth Charmer. Yeah, they are just generic 6 cards. Ignore them. I would recommend playing more copies of Assembled Nightingale and Downed Magician, so play 2 of each if you have the cards to get it. Of course, I do have the gems to get them. It's just the fact that Zeus is at 1, so I didn't really see a massive need to have it. And then you can go for stuff, more copies of your Tri-Brigade stuff. That is something you can look at, because those are useful in the deck. So we do play a Nightmare package to get us through to our access code talker. So we go Phoenix, Unicorn, access code. Then we have the Wind Charmer, again, comes up in this deck, so it's fine to have. And then we have the 1 copy of Frigite, Baron. Yeah, another card. Its effect can come up. Rarely will it, but it can come up. And then the 1 copy of Shureg, again, doesn't really come up, but when you can link 4 into a banish, and if you're in a certain situation where things aren't looking great, sometimes that can save you. Hence the reason we're playing it in here. But that will wrap us up here for our cracked Flunder list. If you are playing standard hand trap Flunder, a friend of mine called Blake Goes Face, the guy that features on the Cowboy for Game Yu-Gi-Oh podcast with me, he will likely have a hand trap Flunder build. So yeah, check that out. You'll probably find that somewhere on YouTube. That is Blake Goes Face. And of course, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.